Hello everyone, my name is Steven Zapata. I'm a concept artist, illustrator, online art teacher, and former instructor at Art Center College of Design. I would like to introduce you to my new drawing course, Form from Imagination, a course designed to help you draw with confidence from your mind. Maybe you want to be a professional illustrator or designer, maybe you want to be a master with a pencil, or maybe you just want to be the best artist that you can be. Beautiful goals. But it's not always clear how to improve the work that you do from imagination. Over the past 6 months, I've taken all of the little eurekas, tips, and essential exercises that gave me confidence drawing from my mind and compiled them into a sequential course. We start with the absolute foundations, covering the scientific nature of light and shadow, how to hatch, how to create flat tones, how to render spheres and cubes, and step by step, we move through combined shapes, complex shapes, organic shapes. We cover how to simplify extremely complex subjects like the head into basic shapes so that you can handle them more easily from your head. We look at how to understand and treat details. And by the end of these 14 chapters with over 50 video lessons, you'll be ready to do complex designs from your mind with fidelity and energy. And all the demos are done in pencil on paper, so you can do all of the assignments even if you don't have a fancy digital art setup. But I also have demos, instructions, and modifications to the assignments for those who do want to do them digitally. Here's how it works. Go to formfromimagination.com and sign up for the course. Download the assignment book and start watching the lectures. Do the assignments at your own pace. Take your time with them and use this self-study to develop your patience. When you're done, post your assignments in the exclusive community hub, and I'll personally critique your work with drawovers, diagrams, and advice. I want you to know, this course is no joke just because it's online. It is challenging content, and it is more complete than it would be if I was teaching this class at an art college as I have before. If I was teaching this class in person at Art Center today, I would just play these videos in class, knowing full well that they're the most concise, focused, edited, step-by-step way to convey the material. So I'm serious when I say, this course isn't just a substitute for a college-level course, it's better than a college-level course. And you don't have to pay thousands of dollars per credit and wind up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So thank you for checking out the course, thank you for watching this and for your support, and thank you for drawing and making your artwork. The world needs it. I'll see you soon.
Come in. Oh.
Hello, Joseph, is it?
Hi, Dr. Zapata. Yes, Joseph. Joe. How are you?
I'm well. What seems to be the problem, Joe?
Well, I'm having difficulty drawing from imagination.
Oh, Joseph, just so you know, that's totally normal. Why don't you tell me a little more about your problem? Is it that you can only draw from imagination if you're completely alone?
Doc, I can't ever draw from imagination.
What about if you're completely relaxed?
When I'm totally relaxed, I can't imagine a thing.
I see. Joseph, it's important to know that even with severe cases like this, there's always hope. I can prescribe an experimental therapy called Form from Imagination.
Form from imagination?
Mm-hmm. It's early days, but clinical trials are extremely promising. Why don't you try this for 6 months and then check back in with me?
Okay, I'll do whatever it takes. Did you just draw this?
Oh yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. Hey, Doc, do you ever have trouble drawing from imagination?
Oh no.
You wouldn't. I mean, you drew this.
That's right.
Wow.
Form from Imagination is an experimental therapy and is not yet approved for use by the FDA. Do not use Form from Imagination if you are already taking any prescriptions for drawing from reference, working side size, or tracing photos you didn't even take. Stop taking Form from Imagination if you experience any of these side effects: loss of interest in your personal projects, megalomaniacal self-confidence, hallucinations, unless they're the kind you're hoping for, drawing better than Steven Zapata, or feelings that purchasing the course was enough and you don't really need to do the exercises. Call your doctor if you have stiff gestures, flat forms, or boring ideas to address a possible life-threatening condition. Full sketchbooks have been reported with Form from Imagination and medicines like it. Other risks include long-term art careers, too many clients, and being worth more than you're charging for. Call your doctor today and ask about Form from Imagination. I'm alive and I'm live. We're live on the internet. It's the Steven Zapata Show. With your host, Steven Zapata. He's joined by his guests, Nobody. He's not the most social guy. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Omar says, Steve, what do you want from the bakery? I'm always partial to just a frickin' soft chocolate chip cookie. I've always liked those, you know that. It's Steven Zapata, says Sploige. Hold on, I'm drawing a leopard seal real quick. Let's open on my other monitor. These are some weird guys. Just hold on. Can you give me a second? Just hold on a second. I know you want me to say hi, but I gotta draw this leopard seal real quick. I mean, what an unusual configuration of forms. I mean, that's not all right. Okay. Hello to Armando, Oniragraphist, Aractic Monkey, Vicator Asken and Sanso, Ra Yun Ola, Dominguez, Muradin the Joat, Sploigi, Lake Asylum? Omer A. Nichol? Robert Letitia? Zedix? Corallifishnet? Jade? Autumna Rosé? Rapipi? Gatswusama? Aradaban Sol? Dry Ink Woter? Dry Ink Woter? Elodine. All right, hi everybody. I'm sighing because I have to, there was something, I needed to say I have a sale. I have a sale going on. It doesn't matter how many times I say it, people still miss it. I'm still getting messages asking if there's a sale. There is a sale. And there is a giant sticker on the left side of my screen, and you can see the details for the sale. You see the coupon code there, and is also on the site. You go to formfromimagination.com, and there you go. Somebody remind me to mention it again later in stream as well. How's everybody doing? We're streaming live to the internet. We're streaming. I had a good morning. Had my coffee. Did some sketching, some brainstorming for my project with my friend Joe. Called him. So I got a couple hours of creativity in the can already today, and now we're streaming. You've got to get your creativity in. My God, you've got to do it. I'm not sure I'm properly caffeinated. What's wrong with my crop tool here? I really can't be sure I'm properly caffeinated. Finally caught the elusive Zapata live, says Dino Blaster. Dino Blaster. Is it still art if there is no human expression in the experience itself, like being forced to draw anime storyboards for my freelancing job? I mean, you could bend that either way philosophically. There's no absolute answer to that. If only there was, but there just is not. See, all questions like that hinge on a definition of art, and no one can agree on a definition of art. So, you know, I think the more important question is buried in the word forced. I think it's less about whether it's art or not, and more that you're not quite where you want to be. I think that's the more important aspect there. I should draw some dinosaurs maybe, says Armando. Do not draw dinosaurs. Do not do that. Warning, warning. Drawing dinosaurs is the worst thing any artist can do. Warning, warning. Do not draw dinosaurs. Warning. Yeah, I went to art school. I don't know if you know that about me, but I went to a college for art, which means that I know everything about art. And I have more art knowledge and more applicable art knowledge than anyone who didn't go to college for art. And one of the main things that they taught me at art college is that drawing dinosaurs makes you worse at art. So if you want to be smart, If you want to get on my pretentious level, you better not draw any dinosaurs, because it's a waste of drawing ability. That is an ugly thing. What is that thing? Autumn Rose says, so I remember I told you, wait a second, I gotta get my head straight. So I remember I told you about how I think about line. There's construction lines and then lines for prettying the piece and for texture. But what do you think about this process? You mean about that, like, that formulation of how to understand lines? I mean, any, lines are one of the elements of art. So the elements are, they're sort of boundless, they're infinite. That formulation, that there's construction lines and then texture adding lines, that is working for you right now, and that's enough. You know, that your statement doesn't need to be true in any sense. Does that make sense? Like, that doesn't need to be all lines are or all that's possible. That's just your little eureka for this moment, right? But be open that in a month you're gonna be like, wait, there was something else about lines, and I've discovered this new thing. Like, it should always be able to expand and grow, and it will expand and grow. And yeah, it's working for you, and that's sort of what the little morsel that your mind has connected with at this point in your journey. And that's enough. You know, you can just focus on that for a while. You know, I could say a lot of things about lines, but I don't, as a random online art person, I don't feel right sort of, I don't feel right throwing you off course there for no good reason. Zed says, hey Steven, just finished Elden Ring, killed Malenia in my 18th try. Did I get good? You're asking the wrong guy. I just rivers of blood in Malenia. I don't care about getting good. I just want to see art. That wasn't even my choice weapon for that dex build that I was running. I hit such a wall of Malenia that I literally went and got Rivers of Blood and drove it all the way up to +10 just to kill her. And I haven't been able to kill her on any of my other builds. BV cheesed Malenia, respect that big time. I'm a different kind of nerd, man. I'm an art nerd, I'm not a video game nerd. Cheese does not hurt my heart. I have no ego associated with video games. That ain't me, champ. I don't play video games for the game, really. It's nice if the game is fun. I think Elden Ring is really fun. I play games to see art. I'll play a game I hate if the art's beautiful, and I will get good at it as much, a game I hate. I will get good at a game I hate. God of War, for example. I don't hate God of War, but like the fighting system isn't for me, right? But I got as good at it as I needed to play through the whole game and get to the game and beat it to see art, because the art is just incredible. Don't get me wrong, I think the fighting system in God of War is a good one, right? They thought it through and all that, it's just not for me. That game, I probably just should have dropped it to just the story instead of doing that, but for some reason I did it. I just played it through on normal mode, and when I hit walls, I just banged against them on normal mode. Of course the leaf blowers are going. Enjoy the fine, beautiful sounds of my neighbor's leaf blowers. I'm looking at I'm looking for some pictures of huskies over on my other screen. Huskies on a mushing team. Have you played Dante's Inferno? I have not. Did you play Scorn? I have watched a playthrough of Scorn, but I have not played it. I know that Scorn is like artistically up my alley, but it's almost too up my alley, if that makes sense. It's like, I want to see different stuff. You know, that's what interests me. Like something that is like exactly the influences that I swim in all the time. I'm like, I know what it is, you know? Video games and movies are a fun way for me to have a deep experience of art that I wouldn't draw, you know? That's just the way I am. That is just the way I am. I don't recommend that to anybody else or anything like that. Autumn Rose says, yes, I do realize this thought pattern is ever changing and I want there to be room for messiness and chaotic creation. It's like, it's not even that you want there to be room, it's like, there's nothing but room. That's what I want people to understand. There is nothing but room, and if you put yourself in a box where you think there is no room, that's the illusion. That is the illusion. All of these husky mushing teams. Yeah, let's do a different search. No photos are giving me a side view. Sled dogs, let's do that. Gamers like Steven really is a game developer's worst nightmare, clearly. I don't know what you mean. Dude, just give me a freaking side view of the dogs. Here we go. No. That's interesting. They wear harnesses that have loops around their back legs as well. Is that so that their back legs are hauling on the sled as well, and it's not just pressure from their chest? Oh, they don't all have that. Go, you little doggies, go. Your last render with the golden color figure is just amazing. Can we see it in high res somewhere? The process will be the next Art Talk YouTube video. I haven't posted it anywhere yet. So I can show it to you here. They edit these in high res. Oh yeah, I only decided it was done a couple of days ago. I'll put it, if you're on the Patreon, I'll post it to the Patreon. I gotta put that on my to-do list. Hold on. Whoa, my to-do list for today got long. I had a lot of fun doing that head. And those hands. A lot of finicky details in here. Because it's fun. Because it's fun. It's fun to render, if you know what you're doing. you know how to make it fun. Yo, Steve, come to your balcony. It's cookie time. Fuck, I gotta get my cookies, dude. He literally had to throw it up to me. He wouldn't let me just come downstairs. It had to be thrown up to my balcony. It took several throws. It crashed against many things, probably broken into. Oh no, it held together. Only light shattering. It's important to have good friends, people. Do not eat that, frickin' dogs sniffing around in the bag. Go on, get out of here. Wanna eat chocolate? You're gonna kill yourself. You're gonna kill yourself in your ignorance. Hold on, guys. I just dropped my cookie. I need to vacuum it. Because I can't risk the dogs eating chocolate. There's a better way to do this. There. My cookie is now on a plate. As it should be. All right, back to drawing, goddammit. What's being blended? That's just the leaf blowers outside. I always think I know their schedule, and then it turns out that I don't. I want this thing to be like a mushing dog that is mixed with a leopard seal and maybe like a beaver. Cursed Fetus says, what's cooking, good looking? Glad to see you let the creature, la criatura, your hair, free today. Cheers. Cheers, Cursed Fetus. Hey Steven, I'm 35 and just starting to draw. You think I can still get really good? Be honest with me. Yeah, I do. But I would recommend for those who are starting a little later in life, don't make your goal just to get good. So there's an arc that all artists go through, especially if you're like a childhood artist. You focus just on getting good, and then you realize that's not enough. And then you're depressed and confused for several years, and then you realize you have to say something, slash actually care about something, and then that's when you actually get good, because you put your skills to a focused end, which is what actually allows them to blossom. So for someone who's starting later in life, I recommend, if you want, I would recommend skipping those first 3 steps, just because they usually take about 8 years for most people. So just skip them if you can, and start here with having something to say, and then get good at the things that it takes to say that, to do that goal, to make that particular thing, and just focus on that. And you'll feel the same way by the end of it that someone who started when they were 5 did, getting there anyway. So the end result is the same. You'll be just as satisfied with your work because you'll only be doing shit you actually care about, and you'll save yourself a lot of time. Don't just try to get good in abstract. If you see a chart that's like, I know a lot of my friends recommend stuff like this, so it may sound like I'm disagreeing with them on a pedagogical basis, and I am. So I'm just gonna say, if you see a chart that's like, this year you learn this, this, and this, and this year you learn this, this, and this, and this year you learn this, this, and this, stop. Bumping into one of those charts is your, and taking it seriously is your sign to stop. Do something else. It's not that structuring your learning is bad, but those charts are always aimed at an abstract lowest common denominator artist that no one actually is. There's what you're actually going to wind up being if you actually go through the whole arc. If you actually find yourself living an experience where you are a good artist, you're not going to be like other people. You're always going to have arrived at something different, gone through a unique path, things like that. So those structures that are just splatted out there on the internet for everybody, they don't apply. They're just to anyone. They don't actually apply to anyone. Yeah, like I said, they're the path of a hypothetical artist that doesn't exist and that no one is. What, pray tell, my dear, are you barking at? Come, whisper it into Daddy's ear. What has you so mad that you must bark on a live stream? Could it be that there are squirrels outside? Is it the gentle hum of the radiator? You think it's somebody invading our home? Planning to take away our dog food? Thanks a lot for your advice. It's good to know that it's not too late for me, and it is definitely not too late for you. I mean, if anything, you have an advantage because starting later in life, you take things much more realistically. You have better soft skills like time management, life management. Like you've just been through more, you know? You'll have other interests and hobbies more readily available to know how to rest better, you know, when it comes time to rest. You got to know how to rest, man. You do not want to find that the only restful thing you know how to do is make art. There's got to be other things you do. So that when you need a break from art, you can do those instead. I went through many years where I thought, all right, if I need a break from art, I'll just do a different kind of art. And that was stupid. That didn't go well. You like Mike Mignola? I mean, just as like, as a, I mean, I've seen his stuff. I know he's great, but I'm not like a, I've never read anything he's made or like bought one of his comics or something like that. I've seen, you know, his solo images that he posts on the internet and things like that, but I like respect a lot of very graphic art styles, but I'm not really a fan of them. Not like a genuine fan. Like I said, if you think just respecting something is being a fan, for sure, I respect tons of graphic styles, but the stuff that gets me really excited is always a little bit more detailed. There's usually some kind of lighting and rendering in it. That's just the stuff that gets me going. It's clear he's an incredible draftsman, though. The stuff that he does is very difficult to do and to do well. Hey, Stephen, how to get an account to use Glaze? Is it possible? You can email me. Pop me an email with your with some links to your socials. I'll take a look and I can get you a Glaze account. If you don't want to do it through me, you can message the Glaze team on Twitter, Instagram, anywhere where they are. For the record, for anyone interested out there, the actual process right now for Glaze, because they vet everybody, is you message the team through their socials, DM them. They also have an email, and you just ask for it, and they'll set you up. They do it all manually now because, you know, university team, they haven't been able to set up like an automated system yet. You know how it is when you're out of school, you know. You don't have infinite funds. Probably messaging them would be faster than messaging me now that I think about it. But I'll take a look too. I can make accounts. Matic says you can go to the Kara Discord. The Glaze team is there. That is true too. I think they're doing an integration on Kara that will allow Glaze to work through Kara's upload system. I don't know if that's up yet. I don't think it is, but yeah, they're hanging out there. By the way, that is not Glaze being explicitly endorsing Kara over other websites. For the record, that's just Kara's the only one that has asked. They're the only one who has been interested. Well, there's more have been interested. Other people have asked. I don't know if the team has announced that stuff, but it's not like they're explicitly endorsing them over ArtStation or something like that. It's just that ArtStation hasn't asked. So. Hey, Stephen, how do you not get upset if the work doesn't match your expectations? What you're drawing is of deep personal significance. I talk about this a lot, and I always kind of struggle to find a new way to formulate it in a way that lands. What I usually say, that reaction of being upset, way deep down, I think most people, if they analyze it, comes from this bad assumption that you are supposed to be good at this point in your life. And that's crazy. You're not supposed to be good. You're exactly as good as you are supposed to be for your place in life, for how you've practiced, what you've practiced, your mental makeup, your temperament. There is nobody who has either less skill than they should have or more skill than they should have. Wherever you are exactly as good as you're supposed to be. And anything else is a fucking narrative that you're inventing, is an illusion that you're dreaming up and that you're telling yourself. You're caught up in the past, imagining this counterfactual world where you spent such and such arbitrary amount of years or hours drawing when you didn't, and you didn't do it for reasons. And your reasons would be the same if you rewound time and lived them again, and you would make the same choice over and over and over again. And again, if you disagree with me there, you're just wasting your time in counterfactuals that you could never prove or disprove. So everybody is exactly as good at art as they are supposed to be. You are not supposed to be better or worse. And the other element to add to this is that your taste is always going to exceed your ability, because ability has physical functions. It has muscle memory, it has drawing mechanics that you need to understand, it has real hard points. Taste is a psychedelic dream that is utterly structureless, right? It's easy to have as advanced a taste as you can possibly imagine. It has no structure, it has no mechanical detriment. It is just a product of your personal preferences and the things that you have been exposed to. So it is irrational to believe that the mechanics of your execution should be up to the level of your taste at this point. And I want to emphasize that that will be true forever. That will always be the case. That is what keeps artists progressing. There would probably be something wrong if your mechanical execution, you were ever to feel that it perfectly aligned with your taste. It's like, what, you can't dream bigger? Of course you can dream bigger. If you're not able to dream bigger, something's off there. Something fell off the track. So the situation of being disappointed that your drawing does not meet your expectations is a backwards disappointment. It makes perfect sense. Your taste, like everybody on this call, is based on the work of the best people in the world. There is nobody in here, nobody, whose taste is based on mediocre artists. If everybody in this chat listed their top 50 favorite artists, I bet the overlap of those 50 artists would be 80 to 90%. There would be huge overlap in who occupies that spot of top 50. Everybody's taste in here is based on the freaks, on the psychos who have spent 30, 40, 50 years doing nothing but making art, or the outliers who just have an insane amount of talent to begin with. So your taste it's blown out, it's crazy, it's far out there. And to think that you, as a beginner, an intermediate, and even pretty deep in the intermediate category, should be able to live up to that taste, it's just a total lack of compassion for yourself and is based on delusions about what the world is or what the world should be. It doesn't make any sense. And if you listen to this and you're just like, oh yeah, okay, that's not enough. What I'm saying right now is something to be deeply integrated, understood down to your bones, and when you accept it down to your bones, that you have nothing to be disappointed in yourself about, that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and it makes perfect sense that you can't work up to the level of your taste, you will be free. A weight will fall off of you. It just takes real deep acceptance of that. And every day that you do not accept it, the main function, the main mechanical process, the mental process of not accepting those things is based on pure, undiluted, irrational, arrogant ego. Hate to say it. Have fun. Have fun figuring that one out. I like how I enter a stream 2 minutes ago and instantly hear incredibly useful advice. Love you, Stephen. Love you too. Your name is in Cyrillic, so I have no idea how to read it, but I love you. These are no good. This one is kind of getting there. This one's like, you know, the like so-so hand gesture. Yeah, I'd rather do that than make a check mark. I'd like to draw a little cartoon of the so-so hand gesture. Hold on, my in-law's dog is barking. I gotta go get her to shut up. I don't mind it, but we have neighbors, people. We have neighbors. This is Winnie. I call her Dinky Pup. She's just a little dog. I know, you've never been put on camera before here, right? You're like, wow, what is all this stuff? I know. It's like, the life of a dog is like they got abducted by aliens and they're looking at all the weird examination hardware in the mothership. What a weird life. Who's a good girl? You ready to be quiet? You ready to be quiet? Okay. I also call her the dumb one. She's not as sharp as the other one. Whoa. My internet connection just dropped to 0 for a second there. I hope I'm still live. Lil Pup. Hi, Emma. How you doing? What you got there, sort of seal slash dog? Yeah, I'm doing, someone else asked, is this for the comic? It is. These are, I need a mushing team creature, and trying to do some weird thing that's like, I haven't totally decided what the mix is, but I know I want to do a weird mix of something. Right now I'm playing with like a, dog shape, but sort of a leopard seal thing, and maybe like a beaver tail or something like that. Anyone know any aquatic or amphibious animals that have weird tails, sort of on the level of a level of uniqueness, like a beaver tail? I know that doesn't really look like a beaver tail, but just, I don't really know any other analogs. I feel like beaver tails are pretty standout. Do beavers and platypuses have the same tail? Platypus is a fucked up animal. That's a weird animal. Geometerism says, remind your wife how lucky she is to be married to you for me, will ya? Can you imagine if I said something like that to my wife? Can you imagine if I was like, hey, don't ignore me. Turn around, look at me. Someone on my stream called Geometerism wanted me to remind you how lucky you are to be married to me. Can you imagine? I would deserve anything that comes my way after that. The knife in my guts would be fully deserved. I'd be like, ugh, but Geometerism says, she'd be like, shh. Just putting it in deeper. Oliver says, is it fine to not practice but only draw what you want to draw? I feel like I automatically practice when I draw what I want. I mean, you basically just stated the entire thesis of this YouTube channel. It's more than just fine. I believe in it so much that I've done hundreds of hours of YouTube videos, not just streams, but pre-recorded videos, meditation videos, literally just trying to explain why that's okay. And the fact that people still have to ask is proof that I need to keep going. It is very fine, very, very fine. Steven, hear me out. Goblin seal. You goblin perverts. All you guys want to do is see your little fetish, goblins, reiterated upon in every possible shape. It's disgusting. I know what you guys do. You guys just sit around all day. You're like, yeah. Goblin seal, yeah. Goblin ice cream person, like they sell ice cream, yeah, but they're a goblin, yeah. Goblin lizard, yeah. All you guys want to do is see goblins in every possible formation. It's hideous, it's disgusting. What is this? Big question from Lassie. Oh boy, 4 parts. Hi, Stephen. Due to an already really time-consuming and moderately fulfilling education in different creative field, I only have about 2 hours of drawing a day I currently use. These only for studying, courses, life drawing, etc., not for my own drawings or projects. The thing is, I feel like this is what's most fun for me right now because 1, I already do projects in the other discipline, and 2, I really, really love learning and studying, so I feel like I'm not missing out on something, but I still have 4, the lingering feeling in my head that I am just convincing myself that I don't need or should draw my own ideas and images, and I am confused about how to address that feeling. I do think these things are very important, so I have to kind of think things through a little bit. I have to admit that even in your position, yeah, I do think it's a bad idea to not make your images. No matter what your life situation is like, no matter the context, no matter how much I wish I could give a more sort of status quo, like keep doing what you're doing answer. And I could be wrong, I'm just some guy on the goddamn internet, right? Like you've got to be much more careful with your art practice than taking advice from some random guy on the internet. But, you're asking for my honest opinion. Yeah, unless you are doing the pictures that you plan on doing, you are not practicing them. I can't believe how much people resist that or purposefully misconstrue that or try to find, they treat it like some sort of legal doctrine and they look for loopholes in it or something like that. It's very, very simple. If you are not doing the pictures you plan on doing, you are not fucking practicing them. If you're practicing cubes, you're practicing cubes. And when you're practicing a cube, you're only practicing the pictures you plan on making so much as there are cubes or cube-shaped things in them. That should be obvious. I feel like that should be obvious to everybody. And in the cube example, maybe it feels like, oh, well, the transference is very direct, right? And it would be if we were just asking about cubes and learning cubes. And I teach cubes, right? Like in my course, I have a whole chapter where I do a cube, but I don't tell people to draw cubes for 5 years. I say, give me one perfect cube. You're good, move on. The problem is not with the one topic, but that the fact is that people don't deal with the one topic and the one thing of transference. They construct their entire artistic practice around 5,000 different points where they're practicing a bunch of shit they're never gonna use. And I wish I could tell you there's a fuzzy reality out there where all of that just objectively makes the future pictures you refuse to practice better, but it doesn't. I've practiced tons of parts of drawing that I had a lot of fun learning and that I don't regret learning just because I'm not just about my own individual pictures. I love the craft and the philosophy of drawing in abstract, right? So for someone with my temperament, I could learn just about anything about drawing and it would be worth it because it satisfies that philosophical interest. But not everybody's like me. Most people want their pictures to be good, right? And yeah, I have practiced so many kinds of art and parts of art that did not transfer. They won't. Why would they? I forgot how to do them. I practiced them for months sometimes. And yeah, just enough time has gone by that I don't remember that. I'd have to start over from scratch if I went back to that little corner of art. And there's 85% of what I know about drawing, I don't use in the pictures that you guys know me for. Like my big refined pencil drawings or something like that. That's 15% of my knowledge to finish one of those. I don't regret all of the time that I put into the other 85%, and I do a lot of things besides those pictures, so I do get a direct benefit out of them. But for an artist who their only goal was that kind of picture, they could have gone through my journey 85% more efficiently. For sure. For sure. You need to practice your pictures. You're deluding yourself if you think that years spent never doing the kind of picture you think you want to do is years spent practicing your pictures. It isn't, baby. I wish it was some other way. You've got to, and again, it's not like I'm saying don't have fun studying. Do both. That's always what I beg. And specifically to get back to, I already forgot my answer, to Lassie's question, you say, I only have 2 hours of drawing a day. Hate to break it to you, but again, just from one random guy on the internet, my breakup would be if you've got 2 hours a day, you love studying, do the first hour practicing your pictures, then do the second hour studying. Hopefully, studying stuff that went wrong in the first hour. You rinse, dry, repeat for years, you will get better at your pictures, and you'll still be studying. Terrorist Win says, so Steven, how would you identify and make some kind of grindable exercise that is pertinent to the pictures you want to make? Is that even possible? Stop thinking about the exercise. It's coming back around. It's just that little mouse that is begging for an objective part of art. It's just him getting back, and he's like, all right, well, what would be the perfect exercise to then improve the picture? It's just that part that is so desperate for there to be something graspable in art. That just make the pictures the grind. Don't make the grind the studies. If you turn the studies into a grind, they'll be the worst grind ever, and they will burn you out, and you'll waste your time, and you'll hate art. Make the pictures the grind. Ask yourself, how many of my pictures can I make in a year? Instead of getting caught up in these, online challenges that it's like, well, how many cubes can you draw in a month? It's like, ask how many pictures I give a shit about can I make before I die? How's that for a challenge? That's the real challenge. And that is the only real challenge in art. And if you have not given serious, obsessive thought to how you're gonna make just 12 pictures that you really give a shit about before you're in the fucking ground, it's gonna bite you in the ass. If you have not thought about that, if you never think about that, I can promise you, you will go through an entire artistic career without ever making a single picture you care about. So stop thinking about the fucking exercises and how to make the perfect exercise. Think about the pictures. The amount of time that people spend worrying about what the perfect exercise is, and they've never thought about how to make their fucking picture. Fuck. Let's try a different silhouette of this guy. What layer is he on? That cookie is 15 easy. It is. Thank you, Omar. Classic Steven says some golden advice, proceeds to munch on a cookie. Need that sugar rush to frickin' keep espousing the truths of art. Oh. Curse Vita says you earned my humble like on your stream, sire. Thank you. I appreciate the like. Jesus Christ, even scaring me into making the art I want to make. Sometimes that's the only way with you people. God damn. My brains have been so burnt out by the internet that if someone doesn't scare you into it, you won't do what makes you happy. Jesus. Nerdy Bird says, but Steven, how do you get better at drawing the abdominal muscles when you don't know what they are? Sigh. Don't pretend you didn't hear me. Don't pretend you didn't hear me say, do the first split of your creativity for the day, doing your pictures, and then do the second half, practicing the parts that went wrong. It's so simple. People will just find any reason not to do it. Damn. You should always be doing your pictures, your whole career. You practice on the side. That is to say, you practice the abstract exercises stuff on the side. If you can't do both in a day, guess what? You do your pictures. You should always sacrifice the studies, the studies, the studies. It's different if you're in school. If you're in school, you're in a different situation because you have grades to worry about and you want your degree and you need to make mommy and daddy happy and all of this. Like, I'm talking about people who they're making their own path. They don't have any other strictures. Obviously, you can be in a situation where there's other considerations, but aside from those considerations, you sacrifice the studies. You focus on your creativity. That's the only thing that's going to keep you happy in the long run. That's the only thing that's going to keep you making art in the marathon that is needed here. That's what you should focus on. What does a platypus tail look like? Is it the same as a beaver tail? But what do I do after I painted a disappointing picture? Who cares? Do the next one. Just do the next one. They're all gonna be disappointing. Hate to break it to you. It's like I said earlier, you're an artist. You can always look at any picture and imagine it 5% better. Because imagining is cheap. Dreaming is cheap. It's structureless, and you're a person of vision, so you have that base capacity. I never do a picture I'm not disappointed in. Every picture I've ever done, even the ones that have gone best for me, I look at them and I say, I know how to make that 5% better, 10% better, 15% better. That's piss in the wind. That means nothing. Who cares? You're gonna be disappointed in every picture. You just do the next one. Do the next one. Do the next one. Every artist who you love, every incredible piece of work that is your favorite, has that as its buildup, has a decades-long ramp of somebody making the picture, 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 until they got to your favorite thing. And that's it. It's simple, but it's not easy. People got incredible at drawing before there was the internet, before there was the apprentice master system, before there was any structure to what would make you good at drawing. People got great at drawing when people just thought it was a gift from God that couldn't be learned. You just make the pictures. That will get you there. I'm not saying that it's not helpful, the current structures that we have. Yeah, they do help. Yeah, it is better than thinking it's a gift from God. It is more efficient than thinking it's a gift from God. Michelangelo, who lived in the time where people thought it's a gift from God, and he thought it was a gift from God too, even though he understood he took great pains to do it, still got better. He still got better, even though he started freakishly good. So that does matter. There is improvement to be done, but the base is you make the pictures. The basis is not this newfangled, we made this up in the past 100 years thing of like, hey, the fundamentals and you understand this and then this and you put it together. It's like, yeah, that helps. It's not the foundation. It's not the foundation. You could not know any of that is even possible. And if you make the pictures, you could become a master. You have to make the pictures first. You get this sorted out in your head. I guess a beaver tail is also a common treat. You get a lot of pictures of some sort of banana bread thing. Canadian fried dough. When you're searching for beaver tails online, you get a lot of fried dough instead of gory pictures of, I guess people also, you search beaver tails, people just cut them off. There's like hardly any pictures of beaver tails attached to actual beavers. What are people doing with these things? Do people eat these? What the hell is this? Is it like a decoration? Oh, people do eat them. It's on a grill. Okay. Pangolin tails are rad. Yeah, they are. I am looking for an aquatic or amphibian tail though, because these guys are from a ice water realm. Hi Nice says, I'll say that I've gotten way less dejected with my failures the more I draw. They barely sting these days. Yeah. It's one of the great gifts of mileage. At a certain point, there's only so much you can care about a bad picture because you're like, yeah, well, I've done about 80,000 of them. So what's another one, you know? It helps a lot. Hold on, let me quiet the dogs again, I'm sorry. Calm down. Sorry, it's the little one. The dumb one. You guys know my doggy don't bark on stream often. She stays quiet all day, but this little one, you know, she's not quite as used to being here. She hears the neighbor downstairs, she gets upset. Sorry about that. He doesn't really care, fortunately. My neighbor is very chill about the dogs. Just out of courtesy. I don't like to let him bark. Go to bed. What the dog doing? Can I pet that dog? Hello, Jose. Thank you, beginning. I appreciate it. Steven, what's the most offensive, provocative, and outright abhorrent thing you drew? Not gonna talk about that. It's not for polite company. Nicole says, Steven, what should I do in the case that I can't get myself to do studies and only do imaginative drawing? that is the better problem to have, continue. Just keep going. Don't worry about it. Many a career has been built that way. If studies becoming more important to you is going to become part of your journey, it will happen naturally. You will just, one day it will change. You'll be so unsatisfied with a specific aspect of your work that you will drill down on it and study it to try to fix it, and that will happen naturally. Until that day happens, you are absolutely doing the better thing than someone who is stuck doing studies. Don't even worry about it. Just keep doing your pictures. You're gonna do great. I should check out your lessons, but now really isn't the right time, unfortunately. Then again, it's always a good time for a little Stevie. It's always a good time for a little SB. Sounds crazy to me. That's because you're in the trap. It's because you're so deep in skill world, you can't imagine changing things. Don't worry, you don't need to listen to me. Life will correct you. No one gets to avoid it. It won't be me who fixes things for you. You'll go 10 years practicing skills, waiting for a rubber stamp that's never coming that says, you're finally good enough to do your pictures. One day you'll realize it's not coming, so you'll give it to yourself, and you will spend a year crying into your fucking soup, because for all of your practice and all of the skills you built, you'll be amazed to find you never built the habit of making your pictures. And so you can't make them. It'll be a bitter day indeed. And even then, hope is not lost. You'll just need to go through the painful process of rebuilding all of your habits to include your personal creativity. And then you'll be able to make your pictures. But yeah, time will have been lost. Only streamer I need headphones for, as Steven's dog sets my dogs off. Oh no, I'm so sorry. It never even occurred to me that that would happen. I'm gonna let her out again. I just need her to calm down a little. My neighbor is being very active downstairs. He seems to be talking to someone out front, and she's just not used to that, my in-law's dog. So she's freaking out hearing his voice down there. My dog don't care. She's used to it. She stays quiet all day. Love my little pup. I love this dog too, but she's more annoying. But I still love her because her and my dog get along so well. So even though she's more annoying and barks more, I love that my dog has something to do all day. They play with each other. They freaking tug toys and fight each other, and they just have a great old time. Steven the Draftsman Shaman? Shit. That's good, Cursed Fetus. I might have to steal that. Don't trademark that before I trademark it. That's pretty good. That's very stealable, I have to admit. Are these thumbnails for a more finished picture? They're just designs for something I need for a story I'm doing with a friend of mine. We need some weird mushing sled dog creatures, but there's no normal animals in our world, so I need to find some fun way to weird them up. Beginning says, I gotta go for my Connecticut walk in the woods. Ooh, that sounds nice. And then learn math, but I'm so glad I saw this. You're wild and I'm vibed up. I'm glad you're vibed up. How many years have you been drawing? Since I was itty bitty. If you believe my mom and my sister, I started when I was around five, and I never stopped. My personal experience, my personal autobiographical memory definitely feels that way. As far back as I remember, I was always drawing. I like to carry a sketchbook around since I was a little one. Also, I wish I could afford your class. Well, that's a good reminder for me to mention that the class is on sale and the versions are back. So there's the full feedback version, there's a premium version, and there's the most affordable core version, and you can get 10% off now until December 1st for Black Friday with code 23 at checkout. You can see that over on the sticker on the left. Thank you for reminding me to mention the sale, because people do miss it. I'm wondering, Stephen, you mentioned talent earlier, but what talent even is? I never really get that. Is it good taste, being interested in art a lot so you learn a lot? Talent can look like a lot of things, including those things. It can be just having good taste early on. It can be being very interested in art. It can be just having a higher temperamental tolerance for discipline. You know, it can be so many things. I think for most of those configurations, talent is sort of a misnomer. It doesn't quite grasp what is actually going on. It's just different proclivities and different temperaments that align better or worse with someone's artistic goals. I don't think that's what most people mean when they use the word talent, but in most cases, that is actually what they are identifying. That said, I personally do feel that the classic idea of talent, that is to say that some people begin with more ability than other people do, I do think that's real. I just don't think it matters very much. But as a teacher who has taught a lot of artists and seen people start out and progress, seen how fast some people get better, see the various levels that people start at, yeah, I just can't, I have to admit, it's just clear to me that there are different beginning ability levels in art. And that makes sense. I mean, there's different beginning ability levels for just about everything in life, right? Like, I think we're comfortable admitting that's true in other fields like athletics and, you know, proclivity for math or something like that. It just doesn't mean much, just like in those other things, right? Like you can, the beginning levels are not so vastly different that it matters where you started when you're looking 20 to 30 years out, right? It's not like the different talent starting levels are like this to this, right? It's like they're this to this, you know? So those even out as time goes on. I don't even think, so, you know, I don't even think like, I think art, unlike certain sports, let's say, well, not even sports, but like even positions in particular sports. There's certain positions in particular sports that you might say, well, you got to be really tall for that position in basketball. And if you want to be the best in the world, it's like two people who have best in the world talent for that position. The one who's taller is going to be better, right? I don't think there's any gate like that in art. So yeah, it may be a harder journey, but I do think basically anybody of any starting level can get to basically as good as they could hope to ever be if they are smart and they work hard and they have a lot of time, right? I think that's possible. Now, we don't have infinite time and we like to spread our smarts around and stuff like that. So I'm not saying it's just like in a particular life, that doesn't mean it's viable for everybody in their particular life to get as good as they would hope, but you also don't have to, right? Good is an abstraction. You just need to be able to do the things, to say the things you want to say with art. I think that's possible for just about everybody. Curse Vita says, do you hate more the overly academic, pretentious artists or pretentious conceptual artists? I don't hate anybody. I just think they're they're playing a particular game, and you don't hate games, right? As long as they're not hurting anybody else. I hate, as I've said on the stream many times, I hate when they drink their own Kool-Aid and so they fuck with other people. They tell other people they shouldn't be making their kind of art or stuff like that. That I hate. But that's me hating something they're saying or a pedagogical position. It's not me hating their side of art, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with any side of art as far as I can tell. Question, is copying great artists' work by your own definition a useful way to improve? Don't worry, I'm not stuck in skill land. I draw for fun 95% of the time. Yes, it is. I've done a lot of copies. What's your next meaningful piece for you, Stephen? I have ideas. I have ideas. Tanish says, God damn it, all good artists say they started from 5 or some young age. I started at 12. I'm scared I might not ever get as good as all these amazing people around my age. Damn, this artist started at 3. I started at 7. The ages don't matter. I know you've already talked plenty about your course, but what do you think it's more useful for? It's most useful for concept art portfolio, illustration, any core group. I don't think it's good for a concept art portfolio. It's good for illustration in the sense that it's just a deep dive on the fundamental of form. It's just anyone who thinks form is going to be a big part of their artwork, and specifically if they'd like to be able to manage and achieve the sense of form for stuff they don't have direct reference for. So they need an intimate understanding of lighting and how lighting affects rendering and things like that. Check leopard seals. They look like a blend between reptile and mammals. I am. I have them open on my other screen right now, actually. You said that you don't have talent. This is Colin Gallagher. You said that you don't have talent and you don't feel your work is very original. I was very surprised by that because I feel you have quite a lot. What did you mean by that, if you don't mind my asking? Well, I mean, you guys just know me for the work I've been doing since you found me, which is probably 2019 and after. I've been doing art for a long time before that. If you guys saw my work, maybe even if I had made a YouTube channel in 2012, you guys probably wouldn't be here, you just wouldn't, it wouldn't resonate the same way or something like that. Yeah, I don't know how else to put it. I didn't have a lot of talent, and I don't have a lot of talent. Not out of the gate. I've just been doing this for a very, very long time. I don't think anyone seeing my work as a child or even a teenager would have thought or felt fully confident that this person could achieve a super high level of draftsmanship or something like that, or at least as much as I have. Yeah, it just was not good out of the box. I had to improve at everything very aggressively. Hi Mel, how you doing? I'm good. I moved my toolbars over to the other side of my screen again, and I don't know if I like it. I don't like any position I can put them in. Drive-by commenter says, hello, Stephen. When foreshortening a dynamic pose from imagination, do you guesstimate roughly which parts of the anatomy you see and you don't? Yep. You guesstimate. Always be willing to let things not be seen. There's a tendency in drawing from imagination to show everything because, you know, without a reference to tell you otherwise, that's just the intuitive feeling. You're like, well, everything's got to be there, you know? But if you look at real poses, a lot of photos, you eventually realize, like, there's tons of poses where you don't see everything. You know, the lower leg is totally invisible, an arm is invisible, things like that. Like, if you want a pose from imagination to look natural, you've got to, you don't have to, but it's usually a good idea to actually obfuscate something pretty severely, even if it's not heavily foreshortened. It's like, otherwise you wind up just splatting everything, you know? Every pose kind of becomes this naturally as you work from imagination, because you're just like, you feel like, well, you got to see everything, right? Even pushing that leg behind the other one, even that is like something that beginners and intermediates need to learn. And you sort of resist the truth, which is like, you know, someone's like, down in their hips like this or something like that. You might see none of the lower leg, right? It might be foreshortened behind the thigh. Maybe you get a little foot poking out here, and you might not see the far arm at all because it's, you know, going right behind the rib cage and hidden by this other leg over here. This squashed leg on the ground here might be this totally alien shape that we get when a thigh compresses over the calf and the foot would be invisible. And just like when you're working from imagination, you feel like that just feels completely wrong. But if you saw, you know, there's barely any leg there and there's a whole arm missing, right? But when you see it in a photo, you just accept it because you know it's real. You don't even question it. So you got to get, if you want to do realistic looking stuff from imagination, you got to kind of wrap your head around that and realize that it's okay to hide things. Again, even if it's not a super foreshortened pose. I mean, this looks like it was shot on a long lens. Nothing's really super coming towards us, but that principle still applies there. And certainly it applies even more in heavy foreshortening. What is this program you're using? This is Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop. Would you like to be reincarnated? If so, into a human or other animal? I have no desire to live forever or anything like that. I hope to, I mean, who wouldn't? But yeah, I hope to be lucky enough to embrace death when it comes. I have no interest in being around forever or reliving any of this. You know, I'm gonna do my best with this life, make my peace with it, and I find death very interesting. I'm very interested in the fundamental questions. I am, you know, as pretentious and weird as it may sound, I just, philosophically, I'm very interested in why is there anything here? What is death? How is it possible that we will leave this world without quite understanding where we were? But one of the greatest solaces that I have in life is that, you know, one of the biggest questions is what happens when you die, and that's one of the few philosophical questions where we're all gonna get the answer. You know, there's either gonna be an answer you can experience, or you're going to get the answer by experience completely obliterating itself into non-anything, not even an experience of death. So I don't wanna miss that. I have no interest in living forever. I want to get my answer. It's my birthright to find out what happens when you die, so I want to know. It's the only deep philosophical question that I get an answer to. So I'm not going to miss my chance for it. Is teaching fun? Teaching's the best. I love teaching. It's way more fun than commercial work for me because students are just like way out there and they're not jaded and, you know, they're doing it for the dream, not for cynical reasons. You know, they're not doing it to just, oh, because it's another job and stuff like that. Students are the best, you know. But that makes sense for my temperament because, you know, I'm not bothered by tackling complex ideas and I'm not bothered by public speaking. So if I didn't have that temperamentally, then teaching would suck, right? That's usually what most people don't like about teaching. But those things don't bother me, so I just get to focus on the really fun stuff, which is just like the energy from people who love art for the most bohemian and highfalutin reasons and who want to do their favorite delicious thing, which is really, really rare to encounter in commercial work. You know, you get it occasionally. There's the occasional dream project where those are the motivating factors behind it, but it's not most. Most jobs, you'll be on jobs where you are with like some of the best artists in the world, super high level people. But the nature of the work for everybody there is like, well, this is the next job. You just handle it with stark professionalism, right? And there's a rush from handling things with stark professionalism, but it's not the same rush as like the unclouded, non-cynical, unjaded, wholesomely naive viewpoint that a student or someone who doesn't have career like industry aspirations, that's just for them. That's reserved for them, and it's a wonderful thing. They reinvigorate me. All right, I got a lot of, let me get through all this stuff. Full Metal Never Forget says, from being homeless off and on, it's been hard keeping up drawing. I'm 21 and just now getting back on my feet. I think artists need breaks. If you hit a stump, just take a break. Yeah, I mean, art is one of those luxury things that you shouldn't worry about it, or you can't worry about it when you got bigger stuff going on, like being homeless, for example. Like, don't you goddamn worry about it at all. I mean, your life comes first, your personhood comes first. You got to take care of yourself, so. Yeah, just good luck piecing all that together. But don't even fucking think about art. I mean, just at that, when you're in that kind of situation in life, the only appropriate way to think about art is, I think, is as a source of joy in a time of darkness. You don't think about how good you're supposed to be or improving your skills or anything like that. You just mine it for joy. You mine it for joy. You mine it for joy. Jeffrey says, hi, Stephen. Recently just escaped skill land and have been drawing the things I want to draw, but found out I suck. The lore of skill-based learning still calls out time to time. It's like, you found out you suck. It's like, of course you do. As I said before in my big rant earlier, it's like, you haven't drawn enough. It's not a big deal, you know? And you will get better. You know, you should improve while building the habit of interacting with your particular creativity. You shouldn't improve while building the habit of doing objective things that have prescriptions that are very easy to understand and that don't engage your creativity. That's a bad way to build the habit of improving. MaxX6 says, I keep confusing foreshortening with stuff getting bigger if you have low focal length. It's like people use the same term for both things sometimes. They do. There's a lot of term muddiness in art. None of it is strictly defined. But yeah, foreshortening is just things getting bigger as they come towards camera. But that doesn't actually mean it has to be a lot. Right, it's technically happening anytime. You might think of the example that I gave earlier as just things occluding each other, obfuscating each other. What's the longest burnout you've had? For me, it was a month, but then again, it's just a hobby. I know it's a bit different for you, maybe. See, I don't really... What's the longest burnout you've had? I don't know, because I don't really think about it as burnout. I just, you know, if I need a break, I just take a break. You know, I don't have a problem now. I don't have a problem, you know, when I go on vacation, you know, I don't draw. You know, I don't feel any pressure to draw. I take a whole vacation off. I'll go 2 weeks not drawing. I don't, if I go to my in-laws to spend a holiday, you know, I don't care if I don't draw, you know, I'll take the whole weekend off. It's just fine, you know, I don't worry about resting. So I just see it as a break. I don't think about it as burnout. I think burnout's more a mental thing that has less to do with exactly what you're doing, right? It's like a burnout almost by definition is like a whole brain failure. You know, you're just completely tapped out on everything and sort of everything. You become sensitive to everything. It doesn't matter if it's just the art. You're like, you know, you're upset while you're eating, while you're talking to people, you're just completely done. Earlier in my career, I've probably been in the mental state of burnout, but I drew through the whole thing just because I had such a strong habit of drawing. I wasn't happy about it and it wasn't good for me, but probably the times I can remember that felt the most like burnout, traditional burnout, the ones I remember, I was still making art through them. You know, I kind of had to. Let's try maybe more weight in the back, bigger back legs to give it more sense of locomotion, shorter front legs. Definitely more reptilian look there. Leg's usually not as bent as I tend to draw it. I'm not great at drawing animals. It's okay to not be great at drawing something, just don't be afraid of drawing something. I can get some amphibious stuff in here, like a lizard thing. A little beard to kind of go with the reptilian silhouette. That is a weird animal. That is an odd looking thing. Let's put the hump in the middle. Lean into more reptilian qualities. Let's change the head size. He's sticking that butt out, man. Yeah. I'm not totally against that. I like when there's something kind of weird about a design. I'm in that stupid period of my art taste where I'm just like, I just want it weird. That don't mean I'm gonna go with that, but I'm not totally against a weird, high-assed kind of a thing. Shit, I kind of like it. That sucks. Let's see, let me vary that a little bit. Maybe if I get the, let me get the back leg lower, make the middle longer. See, even if the leg is about the same height, if I make the middle go taller than it before going back down to the leg, you see how that really makes it seem like the leg's not that high? It's like what makes it seem weird is that it's like the highest here. Now it looks like a dachshund. And let's reshape this leg. Let me look at some lizard legs. What about like it's like a gecko, salamander. Watching your streams on the background, I immediately stopped drawing when I heard high-assed. Yeah. It's an attention grabber for sure. AI Art Bro says, AI art is inevitable, adapt or die. Shit. When you're right, you're right. I'd never thought about it that way before. Thanks, AI Art Bro. We love you, AI Art Bro. Thank you for saving me, AI Art Bro. I almost spent my whole life drawing. Huh? Thought those guys get bored? Jealousy? Guys, clearly someone whose name is AI Art Bro is a parody. I'm pretty sure that guy is on our side. Do not take that seriously. Man, salamanders are weird. I think this particular AI Art Pro might be on our side. Let's lean into the reptilian thing by getting that elbow higher than the shoulder joint. Hi again, Stephen. I hope your drawings are going well. It's going all right. Your drawings are a great companion for the pains of washing dishes for minimum wage. Jesus. Happy to help however I can. Truly. It is an honor to intersect with your art journeys wherever that may happen, whether it be at the drawing board or at the dishwashing station. If I wanted this thing to read as like a salamander type thing, I think that would ultimately rely on you gotta make them shiny in the render, you know? Because like this, it could just be like a reptile, in this simple sketch, you could confuse it for like a Komodo dragon kind of surface, you know, hard scales or something, but you'd really want to sell that it's like actually skin and slimy, you know, not hard and scaled. You know, on the high-assed one, it's got the mammalian thing where like the butthole is up here and then the, well, whatever the equivalent of the, what is it, the ischial bones is on an animal. So you've got like that little platform and then the belly's gonna tuck up to that. But in the reptilian profile, they just kind of go straight through because their cloaca or whatever is down here instead of being high-assed and pointing up that way. The relationship of the upper to lower profile is like it kind of goes straight through from belly down into this thick tail. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I just like that stuff. You know? That's the designer in me. I just like that stuff. What if you make the dogs more human-like? That would be weird AF. It would be. It's not off the table. That's funny, Lassie. AST means twig in German, so high-assed sounded like a twig that's high up on a tree to me. That's funny. Danish says, hey, Stephen, what do you think about intentionally changing jobs in the industry every year for growth, or should I stay at one place for the environment? I just think of that as, would you rather be a freelancer or would you work at a studio? That sounds kind of similar to a question you're asking. I mean, if you're a freelancer, you're going to feel like you're changing jobs constantly. I don't know. It depends what kind of life you want. You know, this may sound, people could disagree with me here. I mean, everybody's going to have a different journey, but I think in general, a freelancer lifestyle tends to make you grow more because it's more, well, studio jobs are really hard to get, right? But they're very competitive at that entry level. But a freelancer is like, you've got to re-get the job multiple times a year. So it's a very frenetic, very desperate, very urgent kind of lifestyle for most of the time. So I do think it's better for growth for most people, but you've really got to be honest with yourself. Is that the life you want? Like, not everybody is this person who the desperation and urgency of a growth life like that is really what energizes them. And, you know, you gotta be careful that you're not drinking the Kool-Aid on a bunch of like David Goggins stuff or something like that and just thinking that, oh, well, that's a very high energy video I watched, so that's supposed to be me. It's like, is it? Is it, dude? Like, you're your own person, right? With your own temperament, with your own needs, you know. We're not, I hate the whole hustle culture thing. It's like, and I know that stuff's useful, you know. I don't watch that stuff, but I know people like David Goggins and stuff like that are very useful for people at a particular point in their life, but you gotta remember, like, do you really think we're all supposed to be David fucking Goggins? Like, is that, you really think that's what's going on in the world? I don't think so. So you gotta be really earnest with yourself as you evaluate things. You might, it makes a lot of sense that you would want the stability and the safety of being in one place, you know? Get that health care, you know, be able to have a broader life, you know, be able to have other hobbies, be able to build relationships, you know? You gotta be real honest about yourself. Don't go out there and live somebody else's life, you know? He's a mole. What is that in reference to? Is that a reference to AI Art Bro who says prompting is the future? He's one of us. He's not gonna trick me. This motherfucker loves drawing. I could tell. Beaver reptile doggos. That's a big tail. Yeah, well, when you're looking at salamanders and stuff like that, they have thick tails. All the reptiles, really, you know? Like, look at alligators like that. The profile on their tail is like, it's like there's its front legs, there's its back legs. It's like the tail is almost the same width where the body ends as where the tail begins. You know, it takes a long time for it to suddenly peter out like that. They just have very thick tails. How do you make sure your back doesn't become C-shaped when drawing? You just gotta, I don't know. Can you actually prevent it? I don't know. I don't even try to prevent it. I'm just like, I better exercise, you know, 3 or 4 days a week and stuff like that. Like, and I don't draw for that long anymore. You know, I try to cap it at 4 hours a day. But yeah, I don't know how you could, you know? Even if you have like a Cintiq and you put it upright and you're drawing like this, eventually you just kind of, you curl, you go shrimp mode. I don't even try to prevent it anymore. Stephen Google and Azawak. Azawak? Awesome highlight action. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a good boy. Now that's a high-assed doggy. Look at those graphic shapes of the, look how square that chest is. It's on like an angle. And then the belly into that curve. Fuck, that's a cool looking dog. That is a cool looking dog. That's a high-ass doggy. Yes. Wear sweaters, yes. Yes. They pull back your shoulders and have stays to keep your back straight. Posture aids. I've heard people have tried those posture aids that like they vibrate when you start curling, and then eventually they just get used to it and they just curl and they don't care that it's vibrating. Just like let it vibrate. Yeah, Arpro says drawing is dead. Shit, I hadn't thought about it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you may be right. Ali Z says, same, I'd be straight shrimping daily. Now, those are some cool looking doggies. Just on their own, that would be, without any modifications, that'd be a fun dog to draw. It has like the muscular definition of like a horse. You can make a great, who's a great horse artist? Alfred Munnings, I want to say his name is. Yeah. Alfred Munnings did these beautiful paintings that just like really capture the graphic shapes and muscularity of horses. He's like the J.C. Leyendecker of horses, for me, in my opinion. There's been many great horse artists, but you could definitely imagine a sort of structured and shape-driven vision like that sort of being transferred over to that kind of a dog. I don't know, I just feel like it would translate pretty directly. Oh God, I don't need to go to the American Kennel Club website. There we go. You see what I'm saying? You see the connection I'm drawing here? You guys get what I'm saying? Thank you, Omar, for this cookie. Oh, my damn ad is in the way of this incredible art. Look at that. Now you can see it. Goodbye, I didn't know that. Let me put away this trash real quick. Hello, Zane. Ayo, the chat is getting toxic. Everybody easy now. AI Art Bro, I know you're a huge fan. I also know that you are probably a automated ChatGPT agent. But I know my huge fans love being here and they love to chat. So I always give everybody one warning. You know, it was a very funny joke. We know you love drawing. If you say one more stupid spammy thing, I will ban you. And I'll ban you every time you come back, naturally. So go on, let her rip. And his final thesis, the grand finale. What's going to convince everybody here to stop drawing is the end result is all anyone cares about. Incredible AI Art Bro. You really changed all of our minds. Where's my salamander search? Sinusar says, dang, that MF did indeed not love to draw. What a shame. Wow, be missed. Dude, it's the internet. I'm not convinced. I've been around long enough to know that that guy might be one of my biggest fans having a friggin' laugh. I mean, you really think anybody's got the energy to... You think anybody who doesn't love me has the energy to make an alt account like that and come in here and troll my random stream? Negative. Arrogance. Narcissism. I put on a 60% chance that AI Art Bro and any other AI Art Bro who enters here is actually a tremendous fan having a laugh. That's just the way the internet is. I don't know, man. I just have such a positive base mindset that I can't help but see it as anything like that. As anything but that. Yeah, that design might be, kind of looks like an eel, right? Doesn't it kind of look like a moray eel? Because I didn't get the leopard seal face quite right. It kind of looks like an eel. He's maybe too long though. It'd be, with that giant tail, it'd be hard to mush a whole team of them. Let me do something like this guy. This is what designing is, folks. Just doing ugly drawings while you think your way through things. This is what design really is. You fake the prettiness later at the end. Let me do a version of this guy with a reptile tail. Let me get my water. A friend showed me a video of a leopard seal and it traumatized me. Did you hear the noises they make? I don't know if I've heard the noises. The way they look, I want to think they sound like dogs, but they definitely don't. I'm Tenshi says, hey Steven, why sometimes I feel like drawing anything with joy and other times I feel I can't draw shit? Is there a way to be more consistent? Like, is there some kind of ritual? I mean, the only ritual you need is a personal ritual. If you feel you want something like that, just when you sit down at the drawing board, just take 1 minute to sit there before you start drawing and talk to yourself. Just talk yourself through it. Just for 1 minute, remind yourself why you care about what you're doing and focus on your big values around it. And I think you'll find that you won't have to do that for very long before you remember like, all right, yeah, it's okay to do not my best drawing. You know, I'm gonna be happy as long as I sat here and did it. I'm gonna be happy as long as I spent the time that I wanted to spend doing the thing that I ostensibly care about. You know, like you do so many things right if you just sit and draw, even if it doesn't come out great. Like if you really think it through, like probably 95% of the things that you would hope to achieve with art, you're moving towards them even if you don't do a good drawing in that sitting. So just talk yourself through that for just a minute. I mean, you're gonna draw for a half hour or something like that, right? You can take a minute. So just sit, close your eyes, take a deep breath. And just walk yourself through it for a minute. I think you'll feel much better. That reminds me of the Zen of Archery book. Really helped my mental game as far as just sitting down and drawing. I love that book. I read that book years and years ago when I was like 17, 18, something like that. It's a great book. When's the next episode of Steven Chronicles? Oh man. If I had all the time in the world, but we are limited beings living mortal lives. I know what I have a couple. I've got a couple in my head ready to go. I know what they would be. It's just the time. It's just the time. Unfortunately, my time is currently completely accounted for. I cannot add anything right now. Good morning, Iqbal. Steven, when you were shit at first, what was your learning process? I got better at drawing in perspective because all I did the past week was draw in perspective. Is it all just repetition? I mean, a huge amount of it is repetition. I tried everything. I really just tried everything. I've been at this a long time, and I have been at this for a long time, and for basically all of that time, art was my #1 priority. So I tried everything. I've tried structured learning, non-structured learning. I've tried every kind of repetition you can imagine. I've copied books, other artists. I've ignored what everybody says, listened to what everybody says. I've tried so many different mediums. I've just tried everything. It's difficult for me to break out anything that I could say was specifically my learning process. I went to school for it. I've taught myself. It's just like, I've tried everything, you know? I had a grand old time. I don't know if I needed to try everything. It's just what I wound up doing. Constantina says, hi, have you tried drinking dark coffee while drawing? No, obviously only light coffee is appropriate. And if you're being held back in your art journey right now, it's because of that. You should be drinking light coffee, blonde roast, instead of dark coffee. Gills? Too much, I say. Gills might be too much. Where is your course? At formfromimagination.com. Oh, thank you for reminding me to move the damn sticker. I moved it out of the way to show Alfred Munning's paintings. What was I thinking? How dare I prioritize a clean presentation of some of the best horse paintings ever made over my beautiful ad. Boxer Wing says, I remember the story of you in a life drawing class where you spent half the time just looking and the other half drawing. The teacher asked you what you were doing. Yeah, I tried. I really mean what I say. I tried everything. I've tried tons of weird stuff that none of you will ever try. There was a period where I drew straight lines with my eyes closed every morning for an hour every morning. And by a period, I mean several weeks of doing that. So all of my advice about skill building and all of this stuff is like, it's not coming from nowhere. I promise you I have been crazier and more far out there than any of you. So my advice is not coming from a place of ignorance. I've put myself through the ringer on skill building psychosis. Trust me. Do you feel like you draw good? I don't know, on certain days. I don't really think about it that way. I just think about the pictures that I need to make, and I wonder if what I know is adequate to the cause. Usually it is. And if it isn't, I have a strong enough basis that I usually have a pretty clear idea of what I would need to do to fill in the gap. What the? Oh, that's an edit. That's good. Saw a picture of a leopard seal with these giant eyes. And it looked pretty real, but then I zoomed in and they were edited on. Got some big teeth, these boys. Stephen, has anyone told you you look a bit like Imperial Hall? I don't know who that is, and no one has ever told me that before. Aisha says, just finished my 12-hour shift at the hospital. I made myself candy bacon and jalapeno cheddar cheese crackers and liquor. Still debating on making scrambled eggs, but I'm sketching. Shit, that sounds awesome. That sounds like a very nice drawing treat. I love that for you. Thoughts on originality and stuff? I feel I've been held back by drawing mostly fan art my whole life, and when it comes to drawing my own stuff, it sucks way more, and it's the thing I find most than a 1. Did Squinch send something else? I think we lost Squinch. Oh. And I find most frustrating in art. I feel like I don't have my own story to tell or anything like that. Is that just something that gets better with time? I talk about this a lot. I've mentioned it several times in the stream. It doesn't actually have anything to do with the fan art, right? Like the fan art was just something that you like to do. And then what happened is you built a habit of doing fan art, right? And that habit was incentivized by something, right? Either your energy for the fandom or the product, or you were getting a lot of likes on it, things like that. It doesn't matter, that's separate. But the important thing is you didn't build as strong a habit for doing your work, for doing your original pieces, right? The fan art is still your work, right? But clearly that's not enough for you, right? There's some counterfactual, hypothetical you where the fan art was enough, right? But you desire something else. So, don't blame it on the fan art. Don't regret the time that you spent doing that. The simple practical truth of the situation is that you didn't spend as much time building the habit of doing your pictures, right? And that tends to be a harder habit for people to build in the current era because the incentives change, right? People are more likely to give a like on the internet to something that they're familiar with rather than something they're unfamiliar with, right? But that is a contingent aspect of our current culture that I personally think you should be very slow to base your artistic practice on, because being contingent, it can change at any moment, right? So I think that you should look more inside on things like that. And just, I think once you understand that that's really what happened there, it becomes much more tolerable to invest the difficult time necessary to build the habit to make your own pictures. And as I said in some of my rants earlier, which you could go back and watch the recording of the stream, you shouldn't, I don't think you should have any point in your career where you're not practicing your pictures, specifically to avoid this problem, which happens to just about everybody if they don't practice it. Is your course for beginners? Yes, it's very foundational material, right? I mean, the first few chapters of the course are explaining how light works, how it produces shadows on things, and then the first demos and exercises are spheres, cubes, cylinders, like the most foundational stuff. That said, and I have had this come up for a few people, I have to be very clear, it's for beginners, but it is taught on a collegiate level. You know, that's the level of education that I'm used to giving. It is not, it's foundational material, but I don't present it simply. I present it in a professional level of detail. It's extremely detailed. I doubt you have ever heard a sphere explained with such precision, with that vocabulary, with that level of detail. It may be a sphere, but I promise you, most people who have never grappled these things before, you will be confused by the sheer amount of information in there, and you will need to rewatch to really keep track of everything that's going on. Because, you know, the fact that a sphere is a simple shape says nothing about how complex the effects that produce it actually are, right? It's just the simplest one for us to investigate it on. But when you're starting from scratch and you're trying to understand the ground floor facts of how the visual world is presented and what creates the illusion of form, that's actually quite a complex idea. The way that I'm speaking now is the way that I speak for the whole course. So I've had a few people be like, yeah, it's foundational stuff, but you're presenting it in a very advanced way or using very advanced vocabulary and things like that. So please be aware that it's not for beginners in that sense. You should be expecting to learn that foundational material on a college level, not a high school or middle school level, right? Because that is another way to teach it, you know? People learn how to draw spheres in middle school, high school, it happens, right? But that's not how I present it. I present it in a professional level of detail. You know, when you learn how to draw a sphere in high school, they're gonna tell you about light, shadow, and the core shadow. They're not gonna teach you the 12 modeling factors. That's just a very rare depth of education to get on light and shadow, you know? James Howlett, why do we need to learn to draw anymore? Well, you don't need to learn how to draw. I mean, you're Wolverine. I mean, I don't think your time is best spent drawing Wolverine. I think you should probably focus on being in the X-Men and protecting us. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's... Wolverine says, I spent 15 years doing art, but now I can't justify it anymore because no support system, no money, I need to find a job. Life can get complicated. You spent 15 years doing art while being in the X-Men? Joe's more the comic book nerd. Is that, did they ever cover that, Joe? Yeah, I wouldn't get stuck in the sunk cost fallacy, Wolverine. It's like, yeah, for you, I think maybe just kind of don't worry about it anymore and just focus on like defeating Magneto. Because he's pretty dangerous. I know that you had special considerations because of the adamantium coating on your naturally present bones. It's like he has a special ability to manipulate you because of that. So I know it might be, I don't want to tell you how to live your life, Wolverine. I know it must be scary to go against Magneto because of that particular advantage he has against you, but I do think most people here would agree that it's very important that you protect us from Magneto. God damn it, Photoshop. No. What do I think if I make a new document, I get this bug now in Photoshop where it will only let me draw and I can't switch tools or backstep. If I make a new layer, there we go. That happens all the time now. Every time you update anything. What did they even add in the 2024 version? Fucking, I don't know, I stayed on 2022. When I meant that that happens to me all the time, that glitch, I mean, since I upgraded to 2022 quite a while ago. So I've been dealing with that glitch for a long time. It happens on stream all the time. Yeah, I didn't upgrade to 2023 when I saw they added the generative fill function. I was like, God damn it. Just keep it away from me. I'll be forced to at some point. At some point, the compatibility problems become so bad that you do want to upgrade to. It's either go back to Photoshop 7 or upgrade to the newest version. G-Pro says, the idea of practicing your pictures is so simple and yet is really refreshing and relieving to hear. Please tell other people. I can't believe how many people find it shouldn't be refreshing. That's what frustrates me. It shouldn't be surprising or interesting. It doesn't make me happy that people think it's interesting when I tell them they should be practicing their pictures their whole life. That's the wrong lens to look at it in. That is worrying and disappointing about the way that art is discussed in the world right now, from where I'm sitting. So please tell everyone you can find. Constantina says, I cannot afford your courses, but it's awesome just watching you draw and hearing your insight into the field of art. Humbling stuff. Yeah, don't worry about the courses. I mean, that's why I do this, you know? Yeah, I have courses out there and things like that, but I love streaming because it's free. Everybody can see it, you know? They can see some of the process. They can glean tips. And it's really, you know, in the courses, I don't really get to talk about the mind stuff as much, or at least I guess I could if I wanted to, but I don't because I'm really focused on giving didactic drawing information. This is, you know, this fills that part of me that I do want to express. It's on the streams that I get to talk about all the mind stuff around art. It's a good balance, I think. It does look shiny like a seal. What a weird thing. I don't know. Maybe I should do something that's covered in fur for these guys. I do like the kind of, it reminds me of like a, it's really thick, that tail. It reminds me of like a Gila monster tail. Beavers have big tails, but they're flat. Flat. I got a flat beaver tail. The sealness of it makes it look radical. It's been my favorite. It looks menacing. Yeah, I think that last one is my favorite so far too. I don't know what Joe thinks. I mean, these guys don't play a major role in the story. They're just kind of around. But often, so much of the fun is in designing the non-major stuff. Seal doggy soggy. What the dog doing? Can I pet that dog? Can I pet that dog? Autumn Rose says, do you think artists should consciously care about composition? I mean, I think it's inevitable, basically. I mean, composition is so broad that, I mean, at some point you're going to find yourself thinking like, oh, this should be, because even a very simple thought like, oh, that should be an inch to the left or something, that is a compositional thought, you know, and it's conscious. I think it's inevitable. Now, sort of higher level stuff like, oh, should I do this to the golden rectangle or something like that? That I think is a personal choice. I don't think anyone has to be consciously interested in stuff like that or making decisions about stuff like that. That's on you if you think that's important. I personally don't believe in that stuff, you know. It seems to be a useful scaffold for other artists, can't deny that. Sort of gives them a good way to frame their thoughts and things like that. But yeah, I'm not a golden ratio guy. I'm just like, if the golden ratio really worked, wouldn't every rectangle in our world be a fucking golden rectangle? Like, it's not like no one has heard of this. It's like our phones would be golden rectangles, our monitors would be golden rectangles, like, because if it worked, you'd be more inclined to buy that one at the store, right? So it's like if I showed you, if I could trick you all. It'd be the easiest thing in the world. If I just showed, if I pulled up right now a document that had 100 rectangles on it and said, pick the golden rectangle. It should be the prettiest one, right? It's like, you're, no one's gonna pick the right one. That's pretty fucking obvious. It's not, the magical things attributed to it, to me, are just clearly untrue. They're just clearly untrue. Again, it can be a useful scaffold for you to hang your thoughts on, but you could do that scaffold with, I guess, any non-repeating ratio, which it is not the only one, right? It's also not magical. You know, it happens in nature because it's like, what is it? It's the smallest non-repeating number so that a system that is chaotically growing members, they won't occlude each other and they won't shove each other out. Most commonly in plants, right? That's why plants have the golden ratio. It's just, it's because it's the smallest spacing where the leaves spiraling upwards and out forever won't block each other's sunlight. It's a natural selection thing, not a magic of this ratio thing. And because it doesn't repeat, they'll never block each other's sunlight. I believe there's plenty of magic in this world. That one just never made sense to me. Do you know Duncan Trussell? I think you dig his content. I watched his animated show. I forget what it was called, Midnight Gospel or something. What are these designs intended for, I meant? It's something I'm working on with my friend Joe. He's in the chat. The only thing missing from this design is a full head of curly black hair. Don't tempt me. Do not tempt me. Cursefita says, do you think live streaming helps with talkativeness? Probably, undoubtedly, I would say. It depends how you live stream, I guess. I mean, it improves talkativeness? I mean, if you're, I mean, if you mean talkativeness in like a social capacity, like you want to speak more socially, I would just, you know, hang out with your friends more. Like, because there's definitely sort of parasocial things going on with live streaming, and, you know, forget improving your talkativeness. I mean, you expose yourself to all kinds of craziness by live streaming a lot. So yeah, it may improve your talkativeness, but you're exposing yourself to a lot of other things that you might not be comfortable with. I like streaming because I'm not really worried about all the other stuff, you know? What is that, a dog, a fish, a seal? Up in the air, it's a dog, it's a fish, it's a seal. No, it's a nonsense Lovecraftian monstrosity. It's all of the above. And if it really does feel like a dog, a fish, a seal, then I think our design goals have been met. Those are exactly the things we were trying to make it feel like. So that's good. That's a good sign. Burner. 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 Yes, quite incredible. Fantastic, yes. It seems that it has appeased all of the design goals. Why, yes, Benjamin, yes, it has, I believe. It looks truly glorious. I mean, that person in the chat said it themselves. Is it a fish? Is it a dog? Is it a seal? And this one has it. Oh, he looks like Darwin. That makes a lot of sense. This is one of the freakiest things that I ever discovered on the SSS Beagle or whatever the fuck my boat was. I mean, I can't explain this one. I mean, what the hell would make this thing make sense? Maybe if we were like more this big, then this thing would make more sense. Yes, I think this makes much more sense. It makes a lot more sense. Well, you know, we got to something usable. I don't know. I gotta run it by Joe. Maybe it's, I was imagining something with fur, but I like the shininess of the seal thing. I don't know what happens with these kind of plated things. There could be some sort of transition, but I'd need to actually transition it instead of pushing it under the rug. But anyway, we got to something that could be usable. It needs a little more finessing, but it's a start. It took five iterations to get there. That's not a lot. Not married to it. I don't think you should be married to it until you've done 30, 40 iterations or something like that. Oh, well, we've been going for 3 hours, and actually, I broke my rule. Yes, I should stop. Let's say that that's a stream for the day because now I have drawn for 5 hours. And I try to cap it at 4. How dare I? How dare I go over? Threaten to burn myself out. And I'm getting a little hungry. Definitely time for lunch. But I'll stick around for a little bit. So if anyone has any last questions, let me know. We will draw, or we will answer them. Not draw. I'm done drawing now. Hang out for a little bit. It was nice to see the process of discovery. Yeah, that's how design goes. You do a bunch of ugly drawings, iterate on things. I forget what order we did them in. I think we did, and there was a few I erased. I think we did, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that was the order. I had done another more boring, I think I erased it. Did I? It'd be nice if I still had it. Not those guys. Yeah, I think I erased it. But if you watch the stream, if you watch the playback, you can see the very first one, 0, was some take at a seal, dog, beaver tail thing. And it was too boring. Then I did sketch number 1, where I kind of drew him rearing up. I like doing that, by the way. If you do silhouettes, design sketches, stuff like that, if you're really bored, you can still be drawing in like the design view, but like put it in action. Sometimes it's necessary to actually like feel like the attitude of the thing you're designing, or else you can't quite get the design, you know? So feel free. There's nothing in the rulebook that says you can't put a little action on your design drawings. So that keyed me into it. Then I wanted a less dog-like silhouette, or I just wanted to give it a twist. So on 2, I gave it that big hump. Then I knew I liked something about the hump, but I wasn't married to having it up front, kind of like a German Shepherd or a buffalo silhouette. So on 3, I moved it to the back. And I got a high-assed design, which is a whole archetype of designs. And that gave it a more like, I don't know, when I put the leopard seal head on, it came out very lizard-looking instead of leopard seal-looking. Because it kind of looked like had like a moray eel kind of shape going. And then that, I didn't hate the lizard thing, so then I moved them up to the middle. So this is what I mean by iterating, right? Like the hump became a design element that for some reason I was focused on. So I tried it in the front, I tried it in the back, and then I tried it in the middle. So by 4, having the hump in the middle gave me a full reptile silhouette. It felt like I had gone down that whole course, and it just got too far away from the design goals. You know, that wasn't something that was in, and the design goals were just in my head. If you're new to this stuff, it's always a good idea to write them down. So it's like dog or husky / wolf, leopard seal, and some kind of weird tail. So it didn't just feel like a normal tail. And in my head, that was like beaver or something like that. So clearly I wasn't married to that, but by 5, I went back, all right, here I got too far. So I went back to 2, reiterated on 2. And then by changing the tail into something more just like, more like it felt like something. This is just like a nonsense shape. So I kept the reptilian thing, did a little bit more rendering to give it the seal shape, but the dog leg arrangement, because we moved away from the dog leg arrangement on 3 and 4, we went towards more reptilian leg arrangement. So I got my dog, I got my leopard seal, and I got my weird tail. Weird tail still needs resolve. I don't know if I want to do, that kind of looks like a pangolin tail or something like that. Might take the scales off of it or something, but we got much closer to the design goals. No problem, Boxer Wing. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Curse Fetus. Looks like a good boy. That's what that looks like. Yeah. Are you watching any shows now, Steven? With my wife, I'm watching Gilded Age because I like costumes. I don't like it. I don't think it's a great show, but I like the costumes. They don't seem historically accurate to me. They seem over the top to me, but I don't know what to say. I like them. I'm a Baroque piece of shit. I really don't like the lenses that they use on Gilded Age. I feel like it's worse this season than it was the first season. They're using these anamorphics with, the depth of field is so shallow that they're trying to get that like peripheral vision effect. It's like the character that is the focus of the shot, the top of their head and their bust will be out of focus. It's just like too much. It hurts my eyes after a while. It's very distracting to me. And there's a lot of like warping on the verticals. I don't know, it's annoying me. And we watch every cult show. So we're watching Love Has Won, about that mother god cult. There's only one episode left. I'll probably watch that tonight or something. Charlie says, Steven, do you think I need to design my form transition between form, shadow, and light? Sorry for spamming my question. Yeah. The transition between light and shadow is data-wise the most important part of the shadow. You can skip everything else and it will create form. To prove it, that feels like a face with form. There is nothing else there. That you will read that as the beginnings of an eye, a cheek, a nose, even though the drawing's off, just those subtle transitions, the variety of hard to soft transitions. That is to say, it's sharp on the nose, it's softer here, it's very soft and feathered out here on the forehead. There's nothing on the other side of the face. Everything is, so there's no drawing of the contour in the light side. There's nothing else going on in the shadow. It displays form and it feels like a face and it triggers your eye. That is proof that the transition between light and shadow is the absolutely most important part of the whole shadow system. I mean, you just need that and you can absurdly limit everything else. And I could run that down the whole figure and it would feel like a figure. It's not gonna feel like the most solid figure, but it would weirdly feel 3D. It would feel like form is happening. It's the most high contrast, most impactful, most data-filled part of the light and shadow system. So it's absolutely essential to design. Cat Red says, hey Steven, I've been stuck in the practice only mindset for years and now I don't know what I want to draw and I'm feeling like I'm losing my passion for art. Any tips to help with that? Stop practicing. Stop doing stuff that is only skill-based. You know, I'm not saying stop drawing completely because you need to mine it for happiness. Most of us do in our lives, right? There's a reason we do art as much as we do. It makes us happy. But as much as you can, turn that part off and draw stuff for its own sake and go on an adventure in your life to figure out what the hell you actually find interesting. Again, this is not the emotional valence of things like I'm losing my passion for art and things like that. That oversells the problem a bit. It's a very serious problem, but the way that I discuss it in my videos and in this stream very often is it's just that you did not build the habit for making your pictures. That's it. That has less of an emotional charge than I'm losing my passion for art, right? I think that that's the way that you should think about it. Nothing magical or existential happened. It's actually a very humdrum, very practical, just reaction to incentives and practice that occurred. You just didn't build the habit for making your kinds of pictures. So you need to go out, you need to accept that, and you need to find a way to re-incentivize making your pictures so that it will drag you into the habit. There's so many things you could do. You know, you can spend more time reading, you could go travel, you can reinvestigate your own past and past traumas and things like that. And you need to separate it from the idea of art and ask yourself, what is my brain actually interested in? And that doesn't mean just nice stuff, right? It's like whatever your brain thinks about is what it is interested in. Now, it's not like there's not things that haven't hijacked your brain, right? Like social media is very good at hijacking our brains. You might need to detox that so that your brain lets go of that and cycles to being interested in things that are not designed like fucking casino slot machines. But it's giving you info every day. You just need to pay attention to it. And yeah, don't stop drawing the grind stuff, right? Because that has a deep habitual groove and it has incentives that you get to come back to it later, but for now, it's gonna keep dragging you back into it because it's like, you did another study, you did another study. It's like the little dopamine drip of like, oh, another one done, another one done, another one done. It's like, it's the very easy part of art. It's the very easy part of art where it's like, all you had to do was do another cube. It's like, it's very objective. Like, was it in perspective? Do the lines converge to a vanishing point? It's like not the kinds of problems you need to get used to having to make your pictures, which ask much more complicated questions like, what do I want to say? What is the meaning behind this picture? How can I arrange a composition to communicate this very abstract meaning? Why do I give a shit about this? You know, what message am I trying to send to people? Like, those are much more difficult questions. What do you think about slime for these beasts? I don't know what that means. Any advice for getting design ideas on a tight deadline? Oh, I mean, there's no real forcing it. I mean, there's an art to iterating. You know, you build one thing on another, build one thing on another, and that usually leads to good results. But I mean, you can't really rush anything good. You know, I mean, you can do, if you're in a rush, you can do a craftsman's job, you know, but, you know, a rush is a rush. You know, you can't expect to do your best work. Have compassion for yourself, iterate on the stuff that's working, and try to just vary things as much as you can. If you're lucky, you find something, you know, really sublime, but usually if you want something really good, you just need time. You got to take your time. Steven, do you believe in true love, or is it just an illusion that movie and society made up? I'm perfectly willing to, I haven't thought about this much, but I'm totally willing to entertain the idea that our constructs for what a relationship look like are totally contingent, you know, on cultural norms and things like that. But I don't see how love could be an illusion. I mean, if you've ever felt it, I mean, it's just like any emotion. It's like asking, is anger an illusion, right? It's like, if you think you're feeling it, right? And I could come in and say like, oh, you think you're angry? Well, you're just deceiving yourself. Like I've felt real anger. What you're feeling isn't real anger. It's like, is this an actual conversation? You know, like it just seems crazy to sort of say that someone's anger is not real as far as anger goes. I would imagine love is the same way. I mean, oh, it's snowing. Oh, there's a light dusting coming down. Yeah, I think love would probably be the same way. I mean, if you're feeling it, you're feeling it. You know, the trappings, right? In the same way that what we do with our anger is culturally contingent, i.e., do you punitive judgment, you know, revenge, things like this. All of these things are contingent. You know, your emotional intuitions around whether it's right to, you know, punish people and things like that can change. That needle can be moved. Same with the cultural trappings of love, but the emotion itself, I don't see how that could be an illusion. I mean, it could be an illusion on the same scale that, you know, feeling like a separate self can be an illusion. You know, it can be an illusion on the scale that everything is an illusion. You know, sort of the framing question might be, is anything actually happening, right? Like that may sound like an incogent question, but when you get pretty far out there, I don't know. If someone asks me that question, I don't experience it as incogent. I'm like, man, let's talk about it. Is fucking anything really happening? Are we in a block universe? If everything is deterministic, to what extent can you say that anything is happening? So on that level, it could be an illusion. But for all practical senses, I don't see how it could be an illusion. Art turned out good, was listening in lurk mode while playing Hearthstone. Nice, thank you, thank you. Getting off Twitter is probably not a bad idea, at least for a time. Not a bad idea for anyone. Oh, I see, that was in reference to Froggy. Hey, Mr. Steven, been feeling down lately. Should I delete Twitter to stop looking at new AI developments? I mean, I wouldn't say for that reason. I'd say delete Twitter so that you just have more time to focus on putting yourself back together and fixing what's got you down. I mean, I don't know enough about your relationship to Twitter or social media in general to be like, oh, that's a problem. It's just there's some extent to which it's taken up your time. So if you're feeling down and, you know, you wish you had more time to take care of yourself and to go for walks and exercise and cook your own food and meditate and write things down and things like that, reclaim your time. Delete that shit, you know? I've got Instagram on my phone right now because I got to keep posting my Black Friday deal, but once my deal's done, I'm going to delete it off my phone again. You know, I don't like having these things around as a they're always there kind of a thing. It's annoying as hell, and I like it that way. I reinstall Instagram when I need to, and then once I'm done, I fucking take it off my phone. I get rid of that stuff. Sansia says, I mean, how could you be married if you thought love was an illusion? I mean, I was trying to take the question on a broader level. Obviously, for me, I don't think love is an illusion. I deeply love my wife, but I wasn't trying to bring the personal viewpoint into it. I was trying to take the question on face value. Love foundational questions like that. Love doing fucking sophistry on my stream. I'm literally going to steal that answer for is love real? In the rare occasion where it would ever come up in normal life, right? I know what true anger is, said an edgy anime waifu. Yeah. All right, everybody. I know there's a few more questions, but I'm sorry, I'm getting very hungry. I've been on stream for 3 hours now, and I gotta get going. We are all an illusion, Steven says, I nocturne. You know, I'm happy to sit around and talk about that for hours. I mean, we might be. I'm not closed off to it. In the last time, I'm always spread between feeling didn't I just say I was leaving? I'm always spread between feeling I'm overthinking design and not thinking about it enough. Like, what should I base on shape, language, composition, and what I can add because it looks cool? That question lost me a little bit, but in general, design is a balance. You know, I think most people should start with the intuitions in design. You have a particular problem that you're trying to solve, and you should lean into the intuitions, right? Like you're gonna draw something different if you know you need to draw a sports car versus if you know you need to draw a moving van, right? There's just already, without having a philosophical discussion or a shape design discussion about square shapes feel slower than triangular shapes, or broad shapes feel slower than sharp shapes. We never need to codify that. Our mind's intuitions about the model we have for the world will automatically make a child draw a Lamborghini different than a moving van. So your intuitions will take you very far. And I think that for most people, you start with the intuitions, you get used to your intuitions, there's good data there, right? And then you add design theory on top as a diagnostic. Inevitably, your intuitions have huge knowledge gaps in them. So for example, you know, your intuitions might be quite useful when evaluating the difference between a Lamborghini and a moving van. But if I ask you to evaluate the difference between a shitty looking 4x4, like a Jeep, I'm not saying Jeep is shitty, but the kind of cars that a typical Jeep is, right? If I ask you to evaluate the difference between a shitty looking 4x4 and a cool looking 4x4, your intuitions are probably gonna fail you there. That's too sophisticated a design question for your intuitions to handle, unless you have a real knack for design. So then you bring in design theory as a diagnostic layer to try to troubleshoot those areas where your intuitions fail you. And you do that for years and years and years, and your troubleshooting will take you down paths to learn stuff. You learn a little bit more about cars, a little bit more about animal anatomy. You don't need to be an expert of any of it, but it gives you a base knowledge. You sort of spread around the different design disciplines. Just a very broad idea of how design learning tends to go. Stephen, I find it hard to split my time between work, drawing, workout, family, farm work, and reading. I have already cut off many distractions, but still find it hard to manage time. Two things. It sounds like you have a very full life, so I wouldn't worry about any of this too much, right? Like in your life, think of how many people out there their prayers would be answered if they woke up tomorrow in your life, right? Like, don't take any of these problems as deep problems, right? Wear your selfhood, wear the narrative of your selfhood very lightly in this situation, because it sounds like things are very full and good for you. On the layer above that, for how you're going to deal with your time management here, you're a mortal being. So the painful truth is you're not going to be able to do everything. So I think it's less a question about how you're going to split your time between all those things, and more a question of how are you going to accept that you are not going to be able to do everything that you would want to do in each of those individual disciplines. It is the fact that there are other things we could have been doing that makes the way we spend our time meaningful. If that wasn't the case, it wouldn't matter what you did. So it's easy to be anguished, feeling that we should be splitting everything perfectly, we should be a vicious little productivity machine, that we should be able to give 100% to work and drawing and workout and family and farm work and reading. But the truth is that we will not. And to tell yourself otherwise is just a very bad idea, to put it lightly. I mean, that's living in a form of illusion, you know? Instead, accept your limits. Know that the meaning of your choices comes from the things that you could have been doing otherwise. And something's gonna have to win out, you know? I mean, I've had many periods in my life where I thought, I'm gonna quit drawing. I should switch to this or this or this, right? I've thought that. I'm not gonna say that I was super serious about that. It was always just a dark time, and I was aware of that. So I was like, all right, you know, you're sad right now, it's dark. Let's see how you feel about that when you're up, right? But looking at all those moments, if I had ever pulled the trigger on that, it's like, that's the wrong way to look at it. Like, every time I had one of those moments and then kept drawing, that is what has imbued my journey with meaning. My quest with drawing has meaning, and I've improved as much as I have because, not in spite of, but because when all these other opportunities presented themselves, I chose drawing instead. I have closed so many doors for drawing, and that is what has produced the fruits of it that I've experienced. I would not have any of those things if I had accepted all of those things and done all those things and split my time ever more thinly, trying to do everything that I knew I was capable of or that I could get good at. I have a lot of interests, and I'm good at a bunch of stuff that I really could have developed much further. And if I had chosen to pursue all those things, it would have diluted the meaning and depth that was available to me in drawing, and I wouldn't be as good as I am now. And yeah, I don't regret it. You know, I put all that time into the thing that I chose. And that has only, we can have discussions about sunk cost and what else I might have done, but it has imbued a tremendous amount of meaning in what I'm able to do with my drawings. So yeah, you're a limited person. Don't spread yourself too thin. Accept that you can only do so much. All right, everybody. Now I'm gonna go. I think that's a good place to exit on. Thank you for the question, Voyager. Lorenzo Lopez, no problem. Happy to help. Seth has a life similar to Voyager, it says. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great day. If you're drawing today, have a wonderful time drawing. And I will see you all tomorrow. I think I'm trying to stream a lot of days this week just to make sure that everybody hears there's the Black Friday sale, because the way social media is now, you can post everywhere and still only half your audience sees your posts. So there's still people who don't know I have a sale going on. So I'll probably be back tomorrow. I'm trying to stream a lot this week. All right, everybody, take care.